Hey, what's up guys, Benny here, and welcome to my top 10 best loadouts for Rebirth in Call of Duty Warzone. Now, a lot of people have been playing Rebirth more compared to Verdansk recently, and you also need to make sure that you're optimizing your class setups and loadouts for Rebirth, because the game mode plays completely differently to Verdansk, and you also want to set your gear up in a completely different way to suit the overall map flow that Rebirth gives you. So I'm going to give you all of that in this video, and if you are new, please do take a second to hit the subscribe button and let me know what you think down in the comments below. But let's get straight into the first loadout, because as I said, I change everything when it comes to Rebirth. I change the weapons that I use. I change the way that I set them up, perks, because like perks in Verdansk, it's like literally EOD, overkill, amped. That is not how it is in Rebirth. So the first class is actually one of my favorites. Now, the Cold War AK is one of the most versatile weapons in Call of Duty Warzone right now. And this build in particular, it's got the fastest time to kill at mid to long range, as well as close range out of the automatic weapons. It is an absolute beast. And I've had like 23, 25 kill games just using this loadout in particular on quite a consistent basis. So I use the base suppressor that's going to give you that faster sprint to fire and ADS speed. The damage range drop off that you get is not really that big of a deal, because the range engagements that you get to in Rebirth are a lot smaller, and also the AK has 2 damage profiles, so you don't really you're not kind of like dropping the damage range, like your damage output drastically, so you don't need to worry about that. 20-inch Spetsnaz RPK barrel for that extra recoil control, bullet velocity, all that good stuff. The Spetsnaz grip, once again, to control the recoil, because the AK47 does kick a bit if you don't have that recoil control. Then got the 45 round mag. That's all you need. It then doesn't penalize your aim down sight speed, as you want it to be as snappy as possible, because you're on Rebirth. You're going to get a load of people that are kind of coming up close, as well as kind of mid distances. So you need to be able to kind of like have that fast sprint to fire speed, and don't want to punish that at all. And then we've got the actual arms 3 times. I find this is good at kind of those short ranges as well that you get to in Rebirth. Like, you don't really want to hip fire too much, but overall I found when you're snapping onto targets of this, it's great. Now, one thing I'm going to say, I do pair this with an RPG. Now, there's a reason for that. I don't want to just run overkill all the time in Rebirth. This is a very versatile weapon. It's good at close range and it's good at medium to long. Every range engagement you get to in Rebirth, this is going to be a really good setup. That RPG is just going to help you take out people that are camping up in windows or entire buildings, and help you with so many pushes. It's actually ridiculous how good the RPG is in Rebirth. And I'm probably going to hate myself for putting this in this video, and I do apologize. But if people are in the camping in the top tower, it's one of the few ways that you can take them out when they're not peeking, because you can just kind of hit the walls above. Really, really helpful piece of utility. And for that reason, we've got EOD, High Alert, and Amped. Now, High Alert is the big one I want to kind of call out. This is so helpful in Rebirth, because the amount of people that will drop in different positions and get a different angle on you that you don't expect, this will just kind of give you a little indication on your screen, and you can flick and take them out with your AK. I genuinely, really, really good perk for this. Then I've got Thermite. Reason I use Thermite more in Rebirth, never use it in Verdansk, is because of the short kind of fights. You can kind of use it to block doorways off, to just kind of buy yourself a couple seconds to put a plate on, as people just won't run through it. And this also deals quite a lot of damage if you hit them as well. And then the heartbeat sensor, one of the most important things in Rebirth, because no one has ghosts. No one ever grabs ghosts, really. And also, if you kill someone, you're going to see where an opponent is anyway. That heartbeat sensor is just going to help you a lot in finding enemy players if you're trying to get those high kill games. The second class that we're going to look at is the long-range Milano. This thing is insane. I love how it's gone from being the worst gun in Warzone. It was like, oh no, it is trash. It's trash, to unbelievably good. It is so easy to use, got fast time to kill, and I think one of the major things, it's got really good mobility. It's an SMG. You can get around the map like in Rebirth really easily, and you're going to want that agency suppressor on there, the 10.6 task force for that extra strafe speed mainly, the field agent grip just to kind of really lock that recoil down so that you can like kind of focus on getting those headshots for the faster time to kills. That's something I do with some weapons, even though it's like very manageable recoil. I want to have the ability to be as precise as possible to land those headshots to get the faster time to kill brackets. That's why that's there. Then I've got the Stagneg 55 round mag and then the axial arms 3 times because yes, the Milano is good at medium to long range. This thing will just shred at all ranges within Rebirth quite happily, very easy to use, and you don't really need anything else with it, which is why I've kind of set it up the same way as my AK47 class. Got the RPG there just to be able to take people that are camping out or finish my downs. EOD, high alert, amped, thermite, and a heartbeat sensor. Amped is also not the only perk we're going to use throughout this video. There are some builds as well where you're able to go ahead and use tracker, which is also very, very helpful in Rebirth. And it's quite breath of fresh air that you've not just got the same 3 perks over and over again. But those are the first 2 loadouts. We then have the updated XM4. The XM4, as you may have seen, got buffed. It's had its kind of recoil line smoothed out, so it's now a lot easier to use and very good as a medium to long range weapon. It also has a fast time to kill. Got agency suppressor on there, 13.5 task force barrel, gives you everything you need for a long range assault rifle. The field agent grip, 45 round, and the axial arms 3 times. Now, before the XM4 was traditionally used as a close range AR. It was the AR that everyone used in double AR setups or with pairing with the sniper without a barrel on and having a red dot on instead. Now, really good at medium to long range, and it's fun to use as well. So it's to be honest, like, let me know what you think, but I love how many different weapon options that we're getting in Warzone at the moment and the constant changes to the meta. And then with that, I've paired it with a nail gun. The nail gun is the fastest time to kill weapon in Warzone. It is ridiculous. And at the distances that you're going to be using it in Rebirth, you don't really have to worry about that bullet velocity. Just remember, you only get 20 bullets in a mag, and because of that low bullet velocity, you need to make your shots count. Get those reloads off as quickly as you can. Take 1, maybe 2 people out, and then disengage from the fight. Second you start getting overwhelmed, this isn't going to help you too much. But that's where the XM4 does help, because it's still good at close range. So you can switch between the 2. Perfect for Rebirth. EOD, overkill, amped, thermite, and a heartbeat sensor. If you don't want to run amped, as I said, if you're happy with the weapon switch speed, you can go ahead and run tracker instead, which will get you a lot of kills because you find people running away or hiding in like prison cells quite a lot. Then the 4th setup is my first sniper loadout that I use in Rebirth, and it's with the LC10. Now, the LC10 is a very, very good SMG. It doesn't have the mobility of some of the other SMGs out there, but it is a laser. Like, if you go up against the Cold War MP5, for example, they're getting their shot first. You're going to lose the engagement. However, this is great at those kind of like short to medium range distances. Perfect for Rebirth, and it's a good pairing with the sniper as well. But the sound suppressor on there for that faster sprint to fire and ADS speeds to kind of counter that mobility. The task force, so we get that strafe speed as well as that effective damage range and bullet velocity. Tiger Team Spotlight's going to give us faster movement speed and aim walking movement speed. One of the best attachments in the game right now. We've then got the Raider stock, the 55 round mag to wrap it up, and then I pair it with the Kar98K. Now, the Kar98K I use is the monolithic suppressor, the Stingard Custom 27.6, tac laser, sniper scope, and the ST Vol precision comb. Precision comb over the sport comb because it's got fast enough ADS anyway, and you just want to make sure that you can center and snap onto your opponent's head as quickly as possible. EOD, overkill, amped, thermite, and a heartbeat sensor to wrap up that class. As we move on to my second sniper class with one of my favorite SMGs in Warzone right now, the PPSH. It's so fun to use, and the iron sight is so much better now since they made the changes towards the end of last season. We've got the sound suppressor on there for that faster ADS because it can feel a bit sluggish if you don't have those like ADS increases. 15.7 task force. Now, the reason I've set this up the way that I have is it's all about breaking controller aim assist, because you want to be able to kind of break out of those kind of like sticky barriers that a lot of players have. So you'll notice we've got the 15.7 task force, which gives us strafe speed. We've got the Tiger Team Spotlight, which also gives us movement speed and aim walking movement speed. And then we've also got the PKM stock, which gives us firing movement speed and aim walking movement speed. This means that when you're actually shooting, like, you are so slippery to your opponents. It's honestly unreal. So finish that off. We've got the 55 round drum, and then we've got the Swiss K31 with that. Which is a Grew Suppressor, 24.9 Combat Recon, SWAT 5MW Laser, the Bruiser Grip, and the Serpent Grip. Great alternative to the Kar98, and it's the perfect, like, those are the only 2 snipers that I'd recommend using in Rebirth. The Kar and the Swiss. They're both kind of really mobile snipers, get those one-shot headshot kills and kind of have fast ADS sprint to fire times, which is what you want. Then we've got EOD, Overkill, Amped. Amped is very important with this because you don't want that slow speed between switching between your sniper and your close range weapon. Thermite. The other option you also have is a Semtex because you've obviously, if you hit someone with it, it's a one-shot kill now rather than the sponge. And because everyone's in narrow corridors, you can get that you can stick an opponent quite a lot. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a great option as well if you kind of don't like using the Thermite. And then if we move on to our next class, we have the kind of old school, well, not old school, but kind of the meta loadout at the moment. We've got the Cold War MP5. Now on here, we've got the agency suppressor, the 9.5 range barrel. Now, the reason I use this is because the blueprint that I've got has the half moon iron sight, which I kind of really feel you need. If you don't have that particular barrel, get rid of that and add a serpent grip onto there. And then that works instead with other variants. Got Tiger Team Spotlight, once again, all about breaking aim assist. Tiger Team Spotlight, and then the SAS combat stock. In Verdansk, I use that Raider stock, but because I'm going to be pre-aiming a lot with in Rebirth, I go for that SAS combat stock. That extra like aim walking movement speed, you can't really gauge it because of like there's no number to calculate it. Go like, oh, this is going to be 54 milliseconds more. But that movement speed makes it so much harder for an opponent to hit you. You're going to survive gunfights that you wouldn't otherwise. And also you can just kind of go around a corner pre-firing or pre-aiming, should I say. Really, really cool perk. Then the 50-round drum. And pairing with that, we've got the FFAR, which is kind of the suppressor because we've only got 2 damage profiles, 18.7 Spetsnaz RPK barrel, axial arms 3 times, Spetsnaz grip, Spetsnaz 60-round mag, kind of the FFAR that we're all used to. It got nerfed, but the nerf is pretty much non-existent. It's still so easy to control. EOD, Overkill, Amped, Thermite, and a heartbeat sensor. Now, this next one is really interesting for me because, as you all know, the FFAR was one of my favorite guns. Right? I love the FFAR, and it's making a comeback, all right, because of the barrel changes. We've got that suppressor to counter the like kind of additional movement speed. Remember, it's also only got 2 damage profiles, which works perfectly for Rebirth. We've got that suppressor to make it a lot more mobile. That task force barrel is going to give us that extra like bullet velocity, recoil control that we need, so we don't have to run an underbarrel. We've got the 50-round mag, the serpent wrap to bring that ADS up, and then we've got the SAS combat stock. Because as I said, right, the suppressor gives us that extra sprint to fire speed. This is all about kind of having that extra mobility and that strafe speed that you really want to have. Now, if you're happy with the ADS speed and you're fine with that, you can get rid of the serpent wrap and add the Tiger Team Spotlight. But for me, this kind of works out for me. And then I run it with the amp, right? Just because I want to run a 3-perk setup of EOD, high alert, and tracker. And with the amp, I use the agency suppressor, the 6.4 task force, the SOF target designator, Salvo 23-round fast mag, and the airborne elastic wrap. This actually got buffed in one of the recent updates, and it is very, very good as an SMG, especially against 1 or 2 opponents at a time. Second, you start getting more because of the size of the mag. You kind of get overrun, but the consistency that you can get a very fast time to kill with this is now up there as one of the best sidearm secondaries in the game. And that goes to the same. If you don't want to run the RPG, you can put that amp on any of these classes up here as well. But a really, really nice setup. Have a stun grenade on there, but I personally recommend the heartbeat sensor. Then we've got one of the new best assault rifles in the game. This is an assault rifle that I wouldn't necessarily recommend to everyone because of the low fire rate. There is a big skill curve. If you miss your shots at all, your time to kill drops drastically. It's not like a FFAR or an XM4 that have higher rate of fire where you can kind of get away with it a little bit if you miss. Here, you need to hit every shot to get those fast time to kills. It's pretty much the Cold War AMAX, to be perfectly honest with you. But the suppressor on there, we don't want that agency because we don't need the additional damage range because we're in Rebirth, not Verdansk. 18.5 task force, field agent grip, the Stagneg 55 round, and the actual arms 3 times. Pretty standard for the Cold War assault rifles now for the setups. And then we've got that nail gun once again in there with EOD, Overkill, Amped, Semtex, and a heartbeat sensor to wrap off that class. And then this one is actually another one that I really enjoy using, the Mac 10, designed the same way as like my PPSH and MP5 for Rebirth, all about having the ability to break aim assist. It's already got one of the fastest ADS speeds in the game, so I run the agency suppressor. We then got the 5.9 task force for that strafe speed, Tiger Team Spotlight for the same reason, movement speed and aim walking movement speed, and then the SAS combat stock over over the Raider stock. Now, you've got to remember, this will punish your sprint to fire speed, but only very slightly. So if you're kind of going into corners pre-aiming, you're going to win a lot of fights using this setup. SAS combat, like, it takes a while to get used to, but trust me, that aim walking movement speeds, that extra strafe should not be undervalued. And then with that, I've got the Pharaoh build that we've seen before, pretty standard now. Remember, save custom mods if you can. It will help you, like Pharaoh meta, whatever you want to call it. Like, you can do that with Cold War weapons now. It will just speed stuff up in the future. And then we've got EOD, Overkill, Amps, Semtex, and a heartbeat sensor. And then our final class is going to be my Bullfrog Krig. Now, the Bullfrog, incredible weapon. The Bruise Suppressor on there, 7.4 Task Force, the Bruiser Grip for extra movement speed and hipfire accuracy. I just like having the extra movement speed here because there's not really that much recoil anyway. And if you need to hipfire, it's going to help out. Tiger Team Spotlight, pretty standard. And then we've got the KGB skeletal stock. Personally, for me, didn't really like it with the PKM stock. Like, it did feel a bit odd. So this is one of the few weapons that I go and use the skeletal stock, but that's personal preference. And then with that, we've got the Krig, which is a suppressor, 15-inch CMV mil spec, field agent grip, Stagneg 60 round, and the actual arms 3 times. And then EOD, Overkill, Amped, Thermite, and a heartbeat sensor. But those are my top 10 classes for Rebirth. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Hope you find them useful, and let me know how you get on. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.